Welcome to the NoDQ.com live recap of a special Saturday night edition of AEW Dynamite. It is Saturday, June 26th. The Daily's Place pandemic era is almost over. We have one more show this coming Wednesday. AEW will be at Daily's Place for the last time before going back on the road. Tonight, we had some build-up for that final show coming up this Wednesday, June 30th. Let's go ahead and break down this show. Shout out to everybody watching, whether it's live or on demand. I appreciate your viewership and support. And if you do like this video, please do me a favor, give it a like and leave a comment on the YouTube channel with your thoughts on the show. What you liked, what you didn't like. We kicked off Dynamite with Sammy Guevara arriving to the building. He was attacked by Shawn Spears, and Spears wished him good luck for next Wednesday. It will be Sammy Guevara versus MJF, but the big question here at the beginning was, would Sammy Guevara make it to Wednesday night after being attacked by Spears? We had our first match of the evening. It was still daylight at Daily's Place. Nice little sunset they had going. We had Hangman Adam Page versus Powerhouse Will Hobbs. Crowd was very much into Adam Page, chanting cowboy shit. Hobbs tried to go after the arm of Page, the arm that Page uses for the buckshot lariat. And then they brawled on the outside for a while. They got back in the ring. Page was thrown into the corner, and the back of his head hit the ring post, and he got bloodied up. The back of his head was bleeding. I remember a few weeks ago he got busted open, and that was more the front of his face. But yeah, the back of his head was bleeding. Page made a comeback, though. Hit a moonsault off the top, got a near fall, and then he hit a lariat. Hobbs kicked out of that. At this point, we had Ricky Starks and Hook, Taz's son from Team Taz. They came down to the ring to try and interfere. Brian Cage stopped them, continuing that storyline. And then Hobbs hit a spine buster. Page kicked out of that, and then Page came back and hit the Deadeye to pick up the victory. So because he was unable to hit the buckshot lariat, he was coming up with plan B, and he picked up the win with the Deadeye. We then had a video package, and they were hyping up the main event, Kenny Omega defending the AEW World title against Jungle Boy Jack Perry, and the announcers brought up how the last time there was a Saturday Night Dynamite, Brody Lee pulled off the upset victory over Cody. And they were teasing that the same thing might happen again. History might repeat itself on Saturday nights with the big upset. We had a promo from the Young Bucks, and they called out their haters and the trolls out there. They called them overrated. If that's the case, why are they the longest reigning tag team champions? And they said that they were going to take out the next team in line. All these other teams were brought up. Next team in line is Penta and Eddie Kingston. That match will take place on Wednesday's Dynamite. And the Bucks called themselves EVPs, Extremely Violent People. We then had Tony Schiavone with Tully Blanchard in the ring, and they brought out Conan. Conan, of course, used to be with Pride and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz, back as LAX in Impact Wrestling. And Tully and Conan went back on the mic a little bit. Tully said that that his guys could be out there at any moment and take out Conan. Conan responded by saying that they're gonna take care of FTR and Tully Blanchard as well, And when they're all done with those guys, maybe Tully will be able to get a job at Walmart as a greeter. Crowd oohed and awed that line. Conan then introduced his boys, Pride and Powerful, wearing face coverings. But then Tully had a swerve. Tully showed on the big screen that Pride and Powerful had been attacked backstage. And the guys in the ring with the face coverings were actually FTR. They beat up Conan and they hit him with a spike pile driver to build up heat for that tag team match at some point. So this was fine. You know, the legend gets beat up by the current guys. We've seen it before. Honestly, I thought the Ted DiBiase thing from a few weeks ago was more intriguing, but this was all right. Not bad. We had Matt Sydal versus Dante Martin. What are we watching, Elevation? Or is this Dynamite? Vicky Guerrero interrupted Dante's entrance to introduce Andrade. And they were going to make an announcement when Matt Sydal just made his entrance and Andrade wanted to beat him up, but Vicky Guerrero held him back. And that was the segment for Andrade, at least on this show. You had Mike Sydal at ringside for his brother watching his back. And Sydal went after the knees, you know, because Dante Martin is a high flyer, so naturally you want to try to take out the lower part of his body. Dante, however, was able to hit some flashy moves, did a springboard moonsault, got a near fall. Sydal then came back, hit a top rope Meteora, got a near fall. And Dante hit a stunner, his own modified stunner, got a near fall on that. And then Dante ended up coming off the top, landing on the bad knee that Sydal worked over. Sydal took advantage, picked up the victory. The veteran beats the young upstart. But the young upstart had a good showing, of course. So pretty standard stuff here. And Sydal was, I think, going to give Dante props, but then the production quickly cut away to something else. So not sure what they were going with that. Match was good. It was fine. We had Christian giving a pep talk to Jungle Boy, and Colin Andrews like, was this 205 Live? I mean, pretty much. We had Christian giving a pep talk to Jungle Boy, and Christian said, you shocked the world at the Casino Battle Royal, and maybe you could shock them a second time. We had a little promo from Jade Cargill, 10% sale off her t-shirts. Use the code THATB. We had a promo from MJF, and he talked about how he was doing Dean Malenko a favor. Last week, he attacked Malenko, and he said that Malenko has Parkinson's disease and shouldn't be involved in an injury as dangerous as wrestling. And he was giving Dean an early retirement. And again, going back to earlier, you know, the young guy attacking the veteran, it's a good angle, but when you do it all the time, it starts to lose its impact. And we just saw this happen on Dynamite last week with Dean Malenko being attacked by MJF. And then this week, we get Conan getting attacked by FTR. So it's getting a little repetitive. Anyways, we had a big brawl because it's Dynamite and you have to have a lot of brawls with people. Inner Circle brawled with the Pinnacle. They fought to the ringside area. Pinnacle got the upper hand. Sammy Guevara made the save, hit Wardlow in the head with a chair, and then got on the mic. Wasn't the best promo, but he had fire and the crowd was really into Sammy, so, you know, that made up for it. He basically said he's going to prove that he's the best ever, and MJF knows it. And he used the word bitch a couple times. That match will be taking place on next Wednesday's Dynamite. We had Miro thanking God. So apparently Miro's new gimmick is he's Dustin Rhodes circa 1998, deeply religious man. He had his cross with him. He said Brian Pillman Jr. is going to find out why he, Miro, is God's favorite champion. So Miro went from hardcore gamer to hardcore Christian. That's his new gimmick now. All right. We had Ethan Page versus Bear Bronson. We got the Bear Country tag team, and the other Bear guy was out there, Bear something or other. I have it here in my notes, Boulder. And Bronson, I get confused because we have Bronson Reed in NXT. This is Bear Bronson, not Bronson Reed. Bear Bronson got slapped by Ethan Page, and Bronson just got angry, and Bronson went for a dive, and Scorpio Sky, who was out there on ringside, basically took the bullet for his buddy Ethan, and then the referee got distracted because Page said that Bear Boulder tried to touch him. And that's when Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky double-teamed Bronson. Bronson did make a comeback, but then Page hit a low blow and hit a pretty cool-looking Ego's Edge to pick up the victory. I like the Scott Hall mannerisms that Ethan Page has, clearly influenced by Scott Hall, and I'm liking it. I think of all the guys they're trying to push in AEW right now, and they are trying to push a lot of people. I mean, to AEW's credit, they're doing more than what you see on Raw and SmackDown as far as trying to push some new people. Ethan Page is one of the guys that right now is standing out the most to me. I liked the Ego's Edge here. I liked the finish with it. And after the match, he cut a little promo, said he's not stupid. The crowd was like, "Yes, you are." And he said he is literally going to be the final nail in Darby Allin's coffin, and he challenged Darby to a coffin match on the, I think it's July 7th edition of Dynamite, which will be the first one on the road, although they're not really going too far from Jacksonville. Well, I guess somewhat far, in Miami, Florida, still the same state. We had promos from Britt Baker and Nyla Rose. They are going to have a women's championship match at Fyter Fest. And next week, we're going to have a tag team match with Britt Baker and Rebel against Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero. That'll be interesting. We had our women's match, which was not quite at 9:30 because we had a world title match in the final spot. So it was like 9:15. We had Chris Statlander with Orange Cassidy versus the Bunny. Chris Statlander's another one that I think is really starting to come into her own since returning. Like, I think she's really shining as a character now more than she has in the past. So I'm thinking of all the people in AEW, she's definitely one to watch for in the coming months. And we had the Bunny get the upper hand. She hit a super German suplex. Statlander kicked out of that. And then Blade got on the apron and passed some brass knuckles to Bunny. Orange Cassidy was there at ringside. Pretty much every match, he got somebody out there at the ringside area. Cassidy took the brass knuckles, put them in his pocket, and then Statlander picked up the win with the Big Bang Theory. Colin Andrews says he agrees with Statlander. And then after the match, Blade attacked Orange Cassidy. TH2 ran down. They're all aligned together. And Blade used the brass knuckles on Orange Cassidy. Of course, best friends were not there. Trent just had surgery. He's out of commission again. We had a QT Marshall promo, just basically talked about wanting to become a champion, and they showed the graphic coming up in Miami. It's going to be Cody Rhodes versus QT Marshall. And then Brian Pillman Jr. cut a promo on Miro saying that Miro has a Messiah complex, and Pillman vowed to become the TNT champion. We had our main event match, Kenny Omega versus Jungle Boy, which was definitely the highlight of the show. Good Brothers were out there with Omega. You had Jurassic Express out there, and the referee decided to kick them all out of the ringside area. And we had Don Callis on commentary as usual. They teased that this match might be going into overtime, like its 60-minute time limit, but of course it ended 2 minutes before the top of the hour. One thing I would like to see one day is where they actually go into overtime, because I think it would add a little bit of unpredictability. Like if the match went past the top of the hour, people watching would be like, well, you never know, anything can happen. But I'm just so used to everything falling right into place with the time schedule. Like it ended right at the end of the show. You know what I mean? A match was really good. My only complaint is that I never thought for a second that we were going to see a title change. The fans live were really into Jungle Boy. They love the music. They love his offense on Omega. They were into the comebacks. But man, for me personally, I just could not get into him possibly winning the title. Like, I just wasn't expecting it. But the match was still really good from a technical standpoint. And you had Jungle Boy doing a lot of high-flying offense on Omega. Omega did a big superplex, got a near fall, hit a V-trigger, but then Jungle Boy was able to counter the one-winged angel with a reverse Hurricane Rana, and then Jungle Boy countered another V-trigger. He got the snare trap submission on, but then the Good Brothers ran down trying to interfere. They were cut off by Jurassic Express and Kazarian, who's doing the Elite Hunter gimmick. And Omega managed to get to the rope. JB countered the one-winged angel again, got another near fall on Omega, put the snare trap on again. Omega recovered from that and then hit the Tiger Driver 98, got a near fall. Finally, Omega was able to put away Jungle Boy with the one-winged angel. And then after the match, he attempted to use the championship on Jungle Boy, and that's when Christian Cage made the save. However, you had the Hardy brand, the Hardy box office, whatever they're called. They ran down, and then the Young Bucks showed up as well. They super kicked Christian, and then Matt Hardy hit the twist of fate on Christian. I'm guessing at some point we'll get Christian versus Omega for the title, which they did tease when Christian first debuted. CC Drink says I couldn't get into him winning either. I like Jungle Boy, still not a fan of Kenny. Lucas says, I was expecting a cliche spot involving the family at ringside, and they didn't do one. I was pleasantly surprised. And Colin Andrews said, and holy crap, does Jungle Boy look like his mother? So overall, show was all right. Definitely not one of those shows like you would have to go out of your way to watch. Main event brought it up a little bit. Main event, I would say, is worth checking out. Rest of the show, you could probably skip. I think I would go with a B-, maybe even a C+. I mean, was definitely not one of the better Dynamites, but it was still a perfectly fine show. And to me, it was more about building up Wednesday and the future shows. Again, like with WWE, we're kind of in a lame duck period, not just for WWE, but AEW as well. And this show was more about setting up future shows than trying to be this all-time classic episode. So it was all right. Decent show, but nothing too special. Mohammed gives it a B-. Daniel gives it an A. And Colin Andrew goes with a C, and he says it was better than Raw. Wow, Colin did not like Raw. CC Drink gives it a C. This is an unpopular opinion, perhaps, at least with Colin, maybe a few other people, but of the 4 shows, going back to Monday, I thought Raw was the best show, and I rarely say that. This week, I would go with Raw as the best of the 4 shows. Israel Diaz gives it a C+. Arco gives it a B, and Lucas Warner on Acid with a Knife, nice username, gives the show a C. By the way, guys, for those of you wondering, I heard from Hank Schrader on The Shitter. I know a lot of you longtime viewers remember him. We've been playing Words with Friends, and he told me he just hasn't been able to get into wrestling much lately, and that's why he has not been active in the chats. Arco says, Raw is the worst show on television, but this week is an exception. Yeah, and I don't know if it's going to go back to that again, but I suspect Raw will be the worst show on TV next week. You know, they rarely put on more than one great show, unfortunately. Gary Joe says, you know me, Rift, I'm an AEW guy. Wasn't feeling this show much tonight. Glad this is the last night for the stupid night shifts. B-. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's another factor why they didn't put all of their chips on the table with this show, so to speak, because it was a Saturday night special, and, you know, next week they're back in their Wednesday night time slot, and then in 2 weeks back on the road. So those are the shows that are gonna get the focus. Kenny Omega retained his title, Manny, just to let you know. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight on a rare Saturday night live stream. I hope I'll see you guys on Wednesday night for Dynamite as we get back into the groove on Wednesday nights. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will